didn't have a huge budget, but they were able to get kind of, they always had people in the know booking there, who were
Yeah.
able to get kind of those rad bands right before they blew up, or were became too expensive. So everyone played there, everyone.
Jimmy Eat World,
No
like,
effects,
yeah.
no doubt. Like
Dashboard Play, maybe.
I saw Dashboard there. I saw Jimmy Eat World there.
Mhm.
Alkaline Trio. Um, Rocket from the Crypt.
Wesley Willis.
Yeah,
We
everyone.
we used to ditch
Well, because they
school.
had this like thing, they wanted, all these different genres too.
Hmm.
So you'd have hip hop acts, you'd have like rock, about a bunch of rockabilly bands would play
Yeah,
there and swing bands when it was the thing.
cool.
They had
Yeah,
everyone. It was kind of rad. I
that's
remember
awesome.
I booked like Taking Back Sunday. I booked you guys, the
And we're both
Stereo.
small.
Yeah,
That's a band who just never, I don't understand, never got paid attention to, is the
the
Stereo.
Stereo. Yeah,
Dan
they were
still puts on the
amazing.
Stereo. Still.
They're amazing. They were amazing.
Like way too
Amazing.
ahead of their time.
Yeah.
Such
Yeah,
a
that
good
one
band.
song, Devotion.
Yeah.
Like, tell me that's not a like top 10 hit.
Yeah.
Like,
They
that should have been on K Rock. That should have been huge.
just wrong
That
time.
song.
Like 8 years too early.
Maybe,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
If they
that's
would have stayed together, maybe it would have panned out.
wasn't the singer like old though? I remember the singer was like kind of
I don't
seemed
think,
like he was older.
maybe a touch older, but not
Probably because
crazy
I was like
older.
15 and like
Right.
everyone looked old. Just like dude, some dude walked by me at the grocery store the other day and was like, "Oh, like excuse me, sir," and I was like, "Fuck, did you say to me?" I was like, "Really?" And in my head, I have
Right. In
like
your head, you're still
tattoos
18.
and I'm dressed like I'm not
Yeah.
dressed like an old man. I'm like, "Fuck, dude, I don't look like an old man. Did he
Yeah,
just
but
serve
people
me?"
at places have to call you sir,
No,
no
he
matter
wasn't an
how
employee.
old you are.
He wasn't an
Oh.
employee. He was just like a kid walking
Okay.
by. He was probably like 17. I was like, damn. In my head, I look like you, but in your
Yeah.
head, I look like your dad.
It's funny how you age and like your perception of certain things changes and your perception of other things just doesn't ever change.
Yeah, like you're frozen in time in your own head.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
but what are you gonna do? I'm just gonna keep going that way. I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's too much of a bummer.
Speaking of the Stereo, I remember I think you were there. We went to go see them at Chain Reaction once, and it happened to be like, oh, by the way, it's the Mars Volta's first show ever opening
Yeah,
for the Stereo. I was like, what?
and they were under some other name.
Yeah, but I didn't even know who the Mars Volta was.
Yeah.
But then they get up there. I'm like, oh, that looks like the guy from At the Drive-In, because you
Mhm.
can't miss those guys.
No.
And then Ike Owens was playing keyboards,
Yeah.
organ. He was in a band called the Teen Heroes
Yeah.
that was really cool, kind of like new wave pop band. Then he went on to play with Jack White, and he
It's crazy
actually,
how these people
yeah,
where they end up going to. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like where everyone starts. But yeah, I remember that, and I never was like a huge At the Drive-In fan, so I was like, I remember like Andy and a couple people were at the show, and they're like, "That's the dude from At the Drive-In." And I was like, "Okay," and
well,
but then the show was nuts.
it was nuts, and it was different than the album that came out, the first album, because I remember at the Chain Reaction show it being way more spacier
Yeah,
and a little more improvised, maybe, but
I think they were
um,
like, "Hey, I think people are actually gonna like this. We maybe should actually write some songs
real songs.
instead of
Yeah,
just
buckle
jamming."
buckle these down. Yeah,
And then they
that
put
first
out that
record is
record. It's
great.
great. That
Yeah,
record was such a like mainstay in our van.
I was a pretty big At the Drive-In fan. I saw him at a bowling alley in Costa Mesa. I think was the first time I saw him, and they kind of blew me away. It's like one of those like, okay, I saw this band, I want to go buy the record at the merch table
Immediately.
right away. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
absolutely.
that good. And not just because the singer was like ended up sliding all the way down the lanes and everything while singing, but they were just crazy good musicians, and
Absolutely.
it was awesome.
It just sounded different too. Like they didn't sound
They
like anybody
That's another band that played Cal State Fullerton like right before they blew up
at the
too.
drive-in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that too. I think a couple of my friends did school for that, and I was like, I didn't go to that one. I didn't go to that one. That's awesome.
It's like
So
you got too many good shows. We're spoiled in Southern California.
there
There's
was
too many
everyone.
good shows. Yeah.
Everyone came through Chain Reaction. Everyone,
But it
like
was rad at Cal State Fullerton because if you could get away at noon, they were always free, and they didn't know if you could just show up.
yeah,
So
don't have to check if you go there.
right,
We all didn't look like we went there. We were all very young. We didn't definitely.
Yeah.
Didn't look like we went there.
Yeah, what are they gonna say?
Yeah, we're just really smart. We're
Yeah.
we're young, but we're really smart. We
Just wear a
definitely go.
backpack there. Yeah, well, I got class.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'd love to stay and talk while you're trying to get me in trouble, but I got class. Just walk around to the other side of the show. So let's talk about Death by Stereo for a second. That's the next
Sure.
step. So you start Death by Stereo. Original lineup Death by Stereo is just insane to me because and the first Death by Stereo record is still holds up today as sounding good enough to hold up to anything else I've ever listened to, and songs are still better than most bands I've ever listened to. Like still probably in my top 10. There's a dude, Dave, here from Australia. He's always like, get Ephraim on the show, which I need to just for him. But like, it would probably just be an awesome chat too, because Ephraim's just a great.
Of course
great
it is. Buckle up.
Yeah. but so talk about kind of starting Death by Stereo, then leaving, and then kind of coming back and figuring out the next step. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, again, like Electric Youth, Death by Stereo was just like, okay, let's play some music with my friends
Mm-hmm.
who live nearby. Jared Alexander, just like my best friend, as soon as he moved to California from Georgia, um, he was playing in the jazz band in high school, and then they had that. Our high school had that concert, the Creative Impulse concert, right? And I saw him play with Good Morning, I think they were called, just this kind of rock band that he had joined.
Yeah.
And I saw him play once, and my jaw dropped. And was like a year younger than me, and had this big ponytail. And they were the opening band, and the lights are off, and he starts with this like kind of like this tribal drum thing, and I was like, well, I need to steal that drummer.
Yeah.
How do I do it? Yeah, basically that's what it was. And so then I joined the jazz band to meet him.
That's all. You didn't
I don't think he
hang out with him.
I don't think he even knows that. Because he's like my best friend of all time now. We still talk all the time.
Yeah.
He was the best man at my wedding. You know, just my best friend of all time, pretty much. But yeah, so I joined the jazz band. I didn't like jazz, but I wanted to meet this guy and like play with him. And then, so then let's start jamming at his house afterwards, and we form that band, the Decons, right?
Yeah.
Which I think we were pretty decent even for high school kids. I think it was all right.
Even those songs are still good. Like Black and Red is still good.
Like, man, if we could, I think we should have released a CD, like a legit CD.
It's not too late.
Could have.
It can just exist for like.
But at that time, it was pretty good. Like, cause we were opening for like Good Riddance and Swingin' Utters and a bunch of touring bands. We were just so young, you know. Absolutely. But that's what was kind of rad about that scene is like no one really questioned it or like, oh no, you're too young, or they like the songs were decent. We brought people, and
it's kind of all that mattered.
People kind of accepted us in a way. Anyway, but that band, you know, didn't stick together, and so me and Jared, I wanted to keep playing with him. So we had these new songs that were a little more aggressive, and we grabbed Paul Miner, who played bass in Kleenex, another band I had played in too. It was kind of like a fast punk, no effects kind of band.
Mm-hmm.
And they had, with Kleenex, we'd open for some, you know, AFI and other people.
Yeah.
Too. So I just grabbed Paul, and we jammed once, just the three of us on these songs. And then the next time Paul shows up with Jim and Ephraim, or maybe just Jim. And then Ephraim took the bus and just showed up too, or something. I don't think he had a car. Yeah. Well, and I'm like, oh well, yeah, I guess we could use a second guitar player. Ephraim, yeah, he sings. He was in that band Clint.
Yeah.
Who had like the first band we knew who like went on tour. You know.
Yeah. It's so good.
They had been on tour. You know, that was like the whole. That was like, you know, the goal of life. Yeah. The goal of life is to go on tour once, right?
That's it. And even just once.
Yeah.
Like even just we used to like go play Vegas, and it was like, damn, we gotta drive like 4 hours, man.
Yeah.
Like this is gonna be crazy. I wonder if anyone's gonna know who we are. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
the internet didn't really exist. It wasn't like
at all. Yeah, Kleenex. We played up in the Bay Area a couple times, and that was like an adventure, you
Uh-huh.
know.
One time, speaking of back to other friends, I worked at the skateboard shop, and me and Nate and Kyle and my brother, we were working at board. Me and Nate were working at Boardwalk. Me, Nate, and Kyle actually, and we're like, "Oh, dude, it was Halloween." We're like, "AFI's playing tonight in San Francisco. Um, let's go." And we're like, "It's sold out. It's got to be sold out." They're like, "Who cares? Let's go." Death by Stereo's playing too. I bet we can get in. Like, should we just go and just try to get in? We're like, "Yeah." I'm like, my mom's out of town, so we have her car. She won't know. We're like, she's not gonna be back till like Tuesday. I'm like, all right, let's go. So we had this called this girl to come in and fill in like for all of our shifts. We were all supposed to work till like 7, and then she just came in instead by herself. And we drove to San Francisco, got into the show like 5 minutes before AFI went on, like one at a time, kept getting in through like Jim would get someone in, or like you know what I mean, like Ephraim would get someone in, and then freaking we're like, oh my god, it's AFI on Halloween, it's gonna be crazy. They're definitely gonna do something after. And then afterwards, it was like, oh yeah, we just play show, retire, we're going home. We're like, cool, let's go home. Let's drive. Let's drive home. I
You
guess
just turned around and drove back.
like 12 hours of driving for an hour long AFI Halloween show.
That's
Hey,
still pretty rad.
I like it.
That's a good story.
Yeah, I still like doing stuff like that. I
I
don't.
know. I kind of wish I would have done more stuff like that.
Like...
I did a few things like that, but
yeah.
like I remember like I was gonna go to your one video shoot, the one in the greaser one in the rain.
Yeah. Falling
And
down.
then I was just too tired. I'm like,
That was
next time. But I kind of wish I went and did that because
you're kind of perfect for it.
yeah, it would have been fun.
But you would have, you know what's funny though is you probably would have ended up being a greaser. So you would have ended up probably fighting Kyle because he's the same size as you, which would have worked out better for Kyle. But then the fact that you didn't come, I fought Kyle, which was
Okay.
more funny for me because I just
Yeah.
kept throwing him. Like I just kept throwing him around in the mud. There's so many like scenes in that video that Kyle's just like flying through the air and landing in mud. It was
Yeah.
great. That video hurt a lot, but it was so fun. Just like fight scene, the pouring rain, like just in full character.
Yeah, because what was
like
what was the
greasers.
call time? Was like 3 a.m. or something, wasn't it? Or
It was. I mean, it was super late.
yeah,
We started at some drive-in after they closed, so we didn't like start filming till like 9 or 10, and
yeah,
then we went till like who knows when,
yeah.
and just like pouring.
That's how it
rain
goes, though,
machines.
right?
It
Yeah.
was awesome. Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it. I threw like a drumstick at some and hit some dude's like prime Shelby Cobra, and he like didn't care at all because he was selling it. He's like, "I don't care, man. This is cool as hell. Like, I'll just buff it out. It's cool." He's like out in the pouring rain. It's literally raining, and these people. We got like these random people from car clubs to bring their like old Corvettes and stuff, and it's just pouring rain in these like convertible cars, and they're just like, "This is awesome, man. Oh, I don't care." I'm like, okay, cool. This is good time.
Oh
Good time.
man, that's awesome.
You know, it's not too late.
That's
you know?
awesome.
You'll come do a Trey video someday.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll just do that video again so that you could be in it.
yeah.
At the beginning of the video, it's like we filmed this video, 14 years ago, but Ian couldn't make it, and he really wanted to. So
No, I could have made it. I just was like,
I'm tired.
yeah.
I'm just really tired. So let's
Yeah,
go.
man.
Let's go.
So Death by
post-
Stereo, yeah. Then I went on my mission for my church, and I came back, and I was like, it was a weird time warp to see them in that span while I was gone to like go from playing Coos to like headlining sold out Glass House, you
Yeah.
know. But I wasn't really like focused on that. I just wanted to kind of get my degree out of the way
Mhm.
because I knew I wanted to do that. And so like playing Electric Youth was fun while I was doing that, working at the school, booking the bands and stuff. But it was actually while I was booking the bands that led to my next thing, which was Sensefield. I was trying to book Sensefield to play at Cal State Fullerton, and I sending emails, and they weren't. Finally the manager responded, or no, he just forwarded them all to the drummer. And the drummer hit me back like, "Hey, we're in the studio right now. We're not playing shows." I was a big fan of that band, on Revelation Records. That album Building is like one of my all-time top 10 favorite albums ever. And so at the end of the email, I'm like, "Oh, cool, thanks for responding." hey, if you need a guitar player ever or know anyone who does, I was in these bands and I'm looking, to play in some more bands or whatever, thanks. And didn't hear back like 3 months later or something. Hey, this is, Rob from Sensefield. How good are you? I was like,
You're all pretty good.
I was like, he's like, can you send me a video? Like, sure. So, I had a VHS video cassette,
Yeah, like a video camera.
and I think I sent him some stuff from of Electric Youth, and some Death by Stereo clips of me playing that I had, and it's like, sweet. Do you want to go on tour? I was like, yes.
Did you say tour?
Yeah. It's like tour, and it was just like the time of my life, and the first tour is like a 6 week tour, which I just like I'd never been on tours. Like I thought, well, I guess all tours are 6 weeks. When
Just
he
what it
realized, like,
is.
usually they're not.
No. Not really, yeah.
But dude, I fell in love with touring, and of course, because I love playing, and it's like, oh well, I get to play my guitar every night and see the world and sometimes get paid. Well, okay, yes,
Yeah, I'm
that's
in.
what I want to do forever.
Yeah, sign me up.
But no, playing with Sensefield was awesome, which led to the next thing, which was Further Seems Forever,
Mhm.
because John Bunch, who had sang for Sensefield, then went and sang for Further Seems Forever, and they were from Florida. Um, it was the band that Chris Carrabba from Dashboard had been in before he went solo,
Mhm.
and so John Sensefield had broken up. John had gone there, and they needed just a touring hired gun guitar player. He called me up, and I was originally going to be playing bass for them or something, and then I show up and they're like, oh well, now our guitar player can't do it, so why don't you're originally a guitar player, you play guitar and we'll find a different bass player. I was like, oh sweet, that's what I'd rather do
That's what I
anyway.
do, yeah.
And so then I toured with Further Seems Forever for like a year or two, and after that I was like, well, that because that band broke up. I was like, so I've been in two bands that just kind of like broke up, even though they've both been around for a decent amount of time, had a decent following, each of them and stuff. I'm
Mhm.
like, this is not too stable. I'm going to go back and get a master's degree because there's like nothing on the horizon music wise. And so I started my master's degree, and like that first semester, the Aquabats called me.
You're like, damn it.
and and then so yeah, but I got the master's degree while playing in the Aquabats because Aquabats didn't tour. There wasn't a super rigorous touring schedule.
Yeah.
We did tour a lot, um but anyway, yeah. So they called me up, and I didn't even know anyone in the band. They were just their original guitar player had quit, had been with them like 10 years and or so, and they had heard of me, I guess, and that someone that I knew had given them, hey, you should call this guy,
Yeah. It worked out.
Yeah. Went down and did like an audition, which was like the day of. I'm like, oh crap, I learned like the first 6 songs off their latest record, and then went that day and went down like, hope this is okay.
It's funny because thinking about that from someone who's like tried out other people, like, hey, I learned the first 6 songs off your newest album. I hope that's all right. They're probably like, yeah, I don't even know those. I don't even know all 6 of those.
Well, it was a very different thing than I had done before, because most all the other bands up to that point I'd been in were Les Paul through a Marshall, and like the Aquabats was a very different sound, right?
Mhm.
So brought in my telly and I had a twin reverb at the time, so because I thought if I just went in with the Les Paul and the Marshall, they'd be like,
Wrong
no,
guy.
you don't get this. But I had started exploring some different sounds, right, and branching out from just the Les Paul Marshall thing. So I was stoked when I got in that band, and I then just my gear uh, fever went from there, right? Just trying
Just
out every amp and every guitar and
yeah,
stuff. But no, the Aquabats was fun because it was a whole different thing, and gave me a chance to explore new stuff.
for sure. And you kind of got to be like a
Um,
character.
well, yeah, I mean, then it like accelerated. 'Cause you think you're just joining a band, okay, it's goofy, and they dress up when they play, but they had always had plans to do a TV show, right? And
Mhm.
so I'd been in the band a year or two, and we shot TV show pilot, um, and we shot it. And then because the guys in the band, the singer had created this kids TV show called Yo Gabba Gabba, and which was on Nickelodeon. And so because of that, they're like, "What else you got?" They're like, "Well, we have this idea for the Aquabats TV show." And so we shot a pilot for that. And then it was so funny. It was like a month later, like we got this call, Cartoon Network greenlit, 36 episodes or something. And we're like, yeah.
What?
And then like a month goes by, 2 months goes by, like
we're gonna film this show.
Nothing happened. Like, okay. So, okay, the TV business is a lot like the music business, I guess.
I'm used to this. I think I'm kind of used to this.
But it was like 2 years later, there was this new TV network called The Hub, which all their programming was like reruns of classic 80s shows, right? And they had a couple original series. They had that rebooted Transformer series and that rebooted My Little Ponies, one that caused that whole bronies phenomenon. Do you know about that?
Kind of.
Yeah. Not going to talk about that.
You're all not going to do that.
But so they were looking for another original program, and so that they picked us up. And they were owned by Discovery Channel Kids and Hasbro Toys. So we're like, sweet, Hasbro Toys, they're going to put out our toys. But I guess there's some law or some clause of like a certain percentage of your shows that you can't also make the toys for or something. And so Hasbro wouldn't make our toys.
Oh.
It sounded like they almost picked our show up so that like they'd have a show that they didn't make the toys for because they were already
making the toys for everything else.
Right, like the TV show just becomes a commercial for the toys you're selling, right? So,
which is a good business model.
Yes, right.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But anyway, yeah. So that, and then we had this TV show, and it lasted a whole like 2 seasons. No, it was like two and a half seasons, I guess. So.
Which is still kind of a lot. Or like
it was fun. And then the TV station went out of business because streaming just took over the world. So
yeah.
So there's that.
So there's that.
Yeah. And then we spent a long time trying to get the show back, and at this point now we finally own everything. It took a long time to get back and buy back the ownership of all the stuff. And stuff. And we've made some new mini episodes. We did a Kickstarter a few years ago to make some more of those mini episodes. But shooting the TV show was super fun.
I can imagine.
It was grueling. It was like the most grueling work I've ever done, especially season 1, because we were just still figuring it out. And so, like music video shoots, right?
Yeah.
Sun up to sundown.
For sure.
Every day. Or if you do the night shoots, sundown to sun up, right? Yeah. But we were also doing, besides being the actors, we were also doing like the music and writing and a lot of other stuff. It was kind of a almost DIY.
Yeah,
television.
Super self-contained.
Yeah, because we didn't get a very big budget. People think TV, it's like, oh wow, yeah, like millions, and it's like, no, that disappears real quick. And
to spend it on stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You see those list of credits at the end, right? Everyone of those people is getting paid. Yeah.
Someone in the chat just said they've rewatched Super Show so many times during quarantine. It's so good.
Oh, that's good.
And then another one was like, that's a lot of seasons. They're like, I don't think Transformers only made it like 3 seasons. So
well, it's the number of episodes per season, right?
Maybe. Did you get? Was it not tons of episodes?
No, I think total was like 21, so not that many episodes.
Okay. So all the while, Aquabats is still just being a band too, though.
Yeah. So still touring. We haven't put out tons of albums. Like I've been in the band 15 years now, at least.
15 years.
And I just played on the second Aquabats album since I've been in the band. Came out last year.
Isn't that kind of insane though? That like you still are like active and do things and play shows and like had a show and all stuff, and you've only put out 2 albums
since I've been in the band. Yeah, in the last 15 years, we put out 2 albums.
That's crazy.
One of them was last year. So Yeah, I was been in the band like 4 or 5 years. We put out a record. 4 or 5 more years went by. No, 8 years went by. Anyway, I don't
Yeah.
know. But there's something to that, I think, because there's like there's the different like models, right? You've got
Mhm.
like the Foo Fighters model, which is the classic rock standard rock one. Every 2 or 3 years you put out an album, right?
Yeah.
And you only have to have really like at that point one or two good songs on it,
Yeah.
right? Because you just put them out so often that if you get at least one or two good ones out of it after 25 years, like you've got
Stacks up. That's why they
two
play for 3
hours
hours.
2 hours of hits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. um but I think there was something about the Aquabats where we didn't, there's no like those like three lost records that even super fans have never heard or listened to or like,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
it didn't burn out the dudes in the band. And that I think was with like why we haven't done tons of touring either, but also, it's a little more special if you have to wait a little longer, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
the Aquabats fans are there for like the whole experience. So it's not
Yeah,
like it's not just like going to a show or like it's like you're involved in the whole thing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Which is
yeah.
also
And
cool.
that the first their output was a lot at the beginning, like a lot of bands, right?
Hmm.
And then um so that stuff was just kind of canonized, so people just are stoked to hear any of that stuff,
Yeah,
I think. you know
absolutely.
and then if we can have a few good songs off the newer records, and that's cool too. But you
The
think about a
hits
band you've gone to see for a long time that you love, who's been around a long time, sometimes you don't really want to hear the new songs quite as much.
for sure. You got to mix
there
it
might
up.
there might be one or two you want to hear,
Yeah,
but
it's rare. It's rare
yeah.
that you're like, I love the new album. That's why, like, I mean, it's funny because people are like, you know, we're the king of I hate your new album, and it's like
Are people saying that to you?
they've always said it for the last 20 years.
Oh
Doesn't matter
wow.
what we do. There's always some that are just like, fuck you
Well,
guys.
sure,
How could you do this to me?
because there's your one breakthrough album that everyone falls in love with, and they don't want it to be anything different,
The funny thing is, though, is we've had like three of those. So it's like, and they all sound different. Like none of them sound like the first breakthrough album. Like we had The Curse was like our first breakthrough and it sounded one way. And then we had Lead Sails, which was like an even bigger breakthrough that sounded another way. And then we had In Our Wake, which was like our kind of comeback, so to speak, but it was like different again. But that took us to another place. It's like people are still mad about something we stopped doing 15 years ago. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you can't worry about it.
It'd be like someone still being mad that you're in the Aquabats. Like,
Right, there's
who?
probably people,
Yeah, yeah. But
just
so
because I'm not the original guy,
yeah,
But it is weird joining a band like that. you know it's not a normal band,
for sure.
and they were around 12 years at the time I joined, right? So
They've
that's already a
been around
decent
the
amount of
block.
history. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So it's like, who's this guy now who's coming in?
And you'd think like, oh, like I'm putting on the mask and the outfit, like I'm gonna fit right in. But they're like, no, 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 not you.
But also, like, I'm not a big ska fan at all. So that probably breaks hearts of like Aquabats fans. I don't really talk about it much, but it's just true. I just never listened to that stuff really. I mean, except for Operation Ivy,
Yeah,
if you can even call them a ska band, right?
they border like very lightly on ska. You know,
Um, so I probably bring something a little different to the guitar in the Aquabats than other
a
guys
little bit
did.
more rip.
A little more punch,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I'd say a lot
Um,
more punch, a lot more rip.
but the Aquabats to me stopped being a ska band a long time way before I joined the band.
Yeah.
Because their first one was almost just like there's a little ska, and it was mainly like surfy in a
Mm-hmm.
way. And then their breakthrough was that Fury of the Aquabats, and that was pretty ska, the one Travis Barker played on. Um, but then after that, it just took a left turn, and it was like way keyboard heavy and
Mm-hmm.
like just bonkers, right?
Yeah.
Just wacky stuff. And then that album Charge was kind of their comeback album on Nitro in like '05,
Yeah.
and that had no horns.
Yeah. It was just a rock record kind
Yeah, pretty much like kind of new wavy.
of. Mm-hmm.
So I don't really consider them a ska band. I know just get lumped in because they were there
Yeah.
at that time, but if you go to see us, it's loud and there's not much inky. You know, there's not much pick it up.
No.
It's all over the place. I think, and since the TV show, I think we can do anything
Yeah, because
because a lot of
people.
the songs on the TV show are just straight out rock or punk,
Mhm.
or whatever. Um,
That's
so
awesome. Now it makes sense to me though. You kind of like you've outgrown the genre that you start in. I think a lot of the time.
maybe. I mean, none of the dudes in the band were really like hardcore ska fans. We're all old school punk fans, right? So
Think about our band. Are any is any of my band like a big metalhead or like listen to like mostly metal? Not anymore.
well, maybe Dan, but I don't
But
know.
even Dan, like the only metal Dan listens
His
to
is
is
like
like
classic
he
metal,
listens
right?
to
If you
like freaking Poison and like
right, pop metal.
the Scorpions. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But then other than that, he just listens to like white boy reggae and country music. Like that's it. If Dan could only play ukulele for the rest of his life, he would do it.
Really, I had no idea about that.
Oh, he loves like Revolution and like loves it. Loves it.
Wow.
Just wants to like
Wow.
smoke a doobie and like chill and listen to Revolution.
Well, it's funny because like as musicians, right, you grow and you get into different
Of
stuff.
course.
If you don't like, there's nothing new to inspire you. Where do you go, right?
Then there's no
You're
it
just
becomes
stuck in
boring.
one rut, you know?
It becomes very boring. I'm
Yeah.
firsthand. I'm definitely we're a prime example of never. We've always
Dude, it was
purposely done it.
it hasn't really happened to me much, but I think it was when I saw you guys play at the observatory.
Mhm.
Did you have Death by Stereo and Adamantium open? Yeah. And so I hadn't seen those guys, a lot of them in a long time, and they were
Mhm.
ribbing me for being in the Aquabats. Like, Ian, you're in the Aquabats, really?
It's pretty
I'm
funny
like,
though.
yeah, I'm still playing. You know?
Yeah, I'm the only one in this conversation that's still playing music.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was literally so. Adamantium did a reunion show, and I was
Yeah.
on tour, and then Ash was gonna go and like FaceTime me, and then she like ended up selling out, or something happened where she couldn't go, and I think she still had someone go get me a shirt, which was hilarious. Like she tracked down someone that was going and had them get me a shirt. And then they were like, cool, we're going to do a show at the observatory. It was like a 2-night thing. And it was like, who do you want to play? And I'm like, we should do like one of them was like a Curse album show. And I'm like, why don't we like kind of throw it back a little bit and do like Death by Stereo? We originally were like, can we have OG lineup Death by Stereo? And I think it was like weird because that's weird. You can't be like, hey, whereas we're still a band, but you,
Well,
and you.
it's not that weird actually, because we have a whole album
That's OG, huh?
that we're sitting on. We have to finish like 4 songs on. That we started like, I guess it's been like 8 or 9 years ago now.
I guess it
Like
wouldn't
8.
have been that weird.
No, like because we have this whole album of all original Death by Stereo members that it's almost done, and sorry, this thing keeps falling down, falling down. That we we like, okay, if we release this, what do we call it? It's all the original members of Death by Stereo. Do we call it
But Death by Stereo
Death-
still exists.
the
Like
the real Death by Stereo, or like, we're still trying to figure out what to call it when we put it out. But it's really good. It's basically like If Looks Could Kill Part 2.
which makes me so happy.
It was just out of nowhere. We all got together. It was like fall of 2012, and I had a bunch of songs that some of them were me and Jared had written together
Mhm.
over the years and just like put on the shelf. And so we got together, and it was crazy because we wrote like one night we wrote like 6 songs or something,
Just
and it was just like
crushing
flowed
them
out.
out.
And we had like 12 songs we wrote in like a couple days, and then so now it's just like it's just finishing them. Like we just, everyone's all over the place, and
yeah.
there's probably at this point going to be like 2 actual Death by Stereo albums out in between
At the same
but
time, yeah.
by the time we get this one done. Like,
I wonder.
but like
I mean,
we all are still friends with all the guys who are currently in the band, and
Yeah.
have respect for them. Like we don't want to call it Death by Stereo, even though it's gonna sound exactly like the
more
Flicks Could
more
Kill.
like Death by Stereo than the.
yeah, probably because I'm
That's
there
awesome.
holding. I was the one holding back the metal,
Yeah, then it went went a little full tilt, especially with Dan, the
Yeah.
band.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Dan's incredible though.
Oh, he's fantastic. I saw him the last time I saw him was randomly was at like a Ralph's in Palm Springs by my dad's house. It was like on like Coachella
What?
weekend or something. I was like,
Oh, rad.
"What's up, dude?" He's like, "Just here, at Coachella, man." I was like, "Tight, see ya." Like, what's like a totally random? Like we were
Dude,
both walking in and out of the grocery store. Like,
that's amazing.
yeah, why are you here? Coachella. Oh yeah, same reason why everyone is in.
Dude, Dan he's like one of those dudes who should have been a guitar god. Same with your Dan, man. Like, if this is the 80s, there's so many dudes I know who would have just been the biggest guitar players in the world,
Yeah, when like guitar players were big.
Yeah.
You know, that's like rare. That doesn't happen. Like, doesn't happen anymore. Where, like
Yeah.
a dude's like super popular because he's good at guitar.
No, 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 no. He has to be either in a band or just be such a freak.
That people pay attention.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, hey, Dan's trying still though. He's still working on it. You seen any?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Seen any Dan's new guitars?
I have. Yeah.
He showed you what he just got.
Yeah. Well, on Instagram, I watched.
Oh.
He had a little video talking about.
Text Dan tomorrow and tell him to send you the other photo.
Oh, okay.
I can't talk about them because he hasn't talked about them yet. Tell him to send you the other photos.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Nice.
It's so insanely big, Dan. I can't wait for him to play them.
Well, his like Seinfeld lobster shirt guitar like took the cake. That's one of the
Oh.
coolest guitars I've ever seen.
It's tame. That one is tame compared to what he's. It's like he finally found a company that like will do all of the crazy things that he has in his brain. They're like, hell yeah, let's do it. Whereas
That's
ESP
awesome.
was just like.
But ESP did those cool guitars for Andrew WK too, like the pizza
pizza
guitar
one?
and the taco guitar.
I think they just he's Andrew WK. You can't say no.
That's right.
This new song is awesome.
Dude, his guitar player, Dave Pino, is another dude who should be guitar god of
Yeah.
our era.
Absolutely.
He played in that band Damone,
Mhm.
in this band called Waltham, and then
Such a metal
also-
band name. Alpham.
yeah, but no, they sound like they're like a heavier Foreigner or something. They're like it's like Camaro rock or
Yeah.
something. I don't know what to call it. Just like late 70s, early 80s. Not butt rock, but just like tasty working
Big
class rock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Blue collar.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Kind of like a 38 special or something. Anyway.
Yeah. But text him to ask him about his guitar.
Okay.
He's got some stuff up his sleeve. So then you're still doing acapats, but what leads you to Gerard? How do you end up playing with playing guitar for Gerard?
So I met Gerard really at Comic-Con.
Mhm.
I'd met him once before. Jared and I happened to be in Salt Lake City, and we bumped into Gerard on the street. This was like 04 maybe or something. And Jared had Suicide File had toured with Mike Hem.
Yeah.
On like Mike Hem's first national tour or whatever. And we said, "What's up?" But no, it was like 2011-ish or 12-ish that Aquabats were doing a panel at Comic-Con, and Gerard Way was our like moderator and asking us questions and stuff because
Yeah.
he writes comic books as well, multi-talented dude. That's really the first time I like kind of like hung out with him and talked to him. And then at that time, Jared was playing for Mike Hem.
Yeah.
And so so that was really cool. I was stoked for Jared to be playing for them. And then they broke up like a few months later.
Yeah. It's like I
And
remember talking to him. He's like, "This is fucking awesome." I'm like, dude, that's so sick. You're my Kevin. I was like,
yeah,
what the fuck? You guys can't do that yet. Jared
I
just
know,
joined the
and
band.
I didn't get to see him play for them
Mhm.
that first round, but luckily I got to see him at that Christmas show.
Yeah. Last
2019,
Yeah,
that like their
2019.
reunion show or whatever, which was rad.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm like, "Hey, you've got my drummer in your band." And he's like, "What?" Like, "Yeah, me and Jared go back to high school." I was like, "Oh, rad." So we just talked, and then we had him come out and like co-write and co-direct one of our episodes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
because he was like super interested in film, and he'd written obviously some comic books, but he was interested in, he had some of his comic books licensed for film, and he wanted to get to know that world a little. And we're just like, again, pretty much a DIY punk rock TV show. It's like,
Yeah,
oh sure, come on down, like
we got you. We know how to
come
do
hang
this.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we had Mikey Way be one of the guest stars in an episode too, and so we hung out a little more there, which was cool. And I didn't think too much of it. Then my chem broke up, and then a few months later, I get a call from Gerard, and he's like, "Hey, I'm like, I got these songs that didn't work for my chem. We broke up, and I'm gonna record them. Would you like come out to our studio and just like play bass I'll play guitar and sing, and we're gonna try out some drummers to record." I'm like, sure.
Sure.
So I come out and just play bass for these songs while he's like jamming, trying out different drummers, and then didn't know that was going to lead to
What
a
it was.
solo album, right?
Yeah.
And so eventually he gets Jared to play drums, which is the logical choice, but he wanted to try out a few other people and stuff. And then he's like, well, yeah, why don't you play guitar, and we'll let's form this band. It was, at first it was going to be a new band. I think later, with the labels input, it kind of morphed into a solo album
I didn't know
adventure.
that.
But it was originally, it was going to be a band. And he had artwork, he had the name, he had all the songs pretty much, and some of the songs fleshed out. And so we went out to Sonic Ranch and recorded the thing, which was like the coolest recording experience imaginable.
So much.
Yeah, you've been there too, right? Yeah.
It's like the best experience on earth.
Yeah.
So good.
And so it just kind of happened organically, I think.
Yeah.
I was just around and available, and there was the connection between me and Jared, which I think was kind of cool too.
It only makes
so
sense.
Then we ended up doing that album and like touring the whole world with Jared, which was like, I don't stop and think about it enough how crazy that is. Like, my best friend from when we're like 16 years old.
Go your separate ways and do a bunch of other things, and then
then like almost 20 years later, we're playing the Budokan, or whatever, right?
Yeah,
and
it's insane.
It's nuts, right?
The world is weird
and so awesome, because so rad to be in a band with him and play. And you get that like thing that you've played together since you were 15, 16, so there's like that connection there, right? You just lock in,
just comfortable.
Right, you just lock in. So there's a shorthand, every like twitch or whatever that on stage. So, and this, half your band you've been playing with since you're that old, right?
Most of them,
or younger.
And even Porter at this point's been in the band for like 15 years or something.
Right. Yeah.
Longer, 16 years. So yeah, it's the same thing. We both know, everyone knows what everyone's going to do at all times, which is awesome. What was the band supposed to be called? You remember?
I guess I could say it was going to be called Baby Animal Hospital.
Baby Animal Hospital.
Yeah.
I think it makes sense that the label's like, you sure you don't want to use your name?
Well, I think he had a vision for it, right?
Yeah.
He wanted it to sound a little like Static Age by the Misfits. He wanted it to be kind of 90s and as well. He wanted his vocals like kind of lower in the mix. I don't think he didn't want it to sound like a big pop record,
something different than Mike Kim.
But he wanted it kind of noisier.
The solo record was super different.
Yeah, and I think part of that is the guy who mixed it, Chad Blake. But yeah, it's very different. There's some songs in there that are kind of like little 90s Britpop-ish influenced. A few songs that are almost like ballads,
Yeah.
Even.
See, I love that though. I love when people almost just make more of an effort to just do something different than what they've done. It's usually the
Right,
harder
right.
route, but it's like
Yeah.
you, never just like, oh, our band broke up, but you got me now. I'm just gonna do the same thing. No, it's
Right.
never gonna work. I don't think it ever works. You know,
Yeah.
like you have to try. You have to try a little bit. I was watching this thing today. This just made me so mad. This is totally off topic. You have to try. I hate when bands, especially heavy bands, do good like acoustic performances. They
Hmm.
just play the same exact thing that they do on the record, but on acoustic guitars. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
life. It makes
Well,
me
they
so
yeah,
mad.
you gotta put some arrangement in there.
You have to
You gotta
try.
change it up a little.
Figure out how to like chord it out. You can't play like metal riffs on an acoustic guitar. It doesn't
Right.
sound good.
Or just power chords the whole time, right?
No. I saw this
Yeah,
thing
because
today. I was just like,
yeah, think
come
about
on.
like MTV Unplugged, right? Those
Different
bands seem
arrangements.
to used to change it up a lot, right?
Yeah. You
There was
had to.
like the dude, the Eric Clapton one, which I know it's not hardcore, but like the version of Layla
Yeah.
versus the electric Layla, like
It's like a whole different
different
monster.
world,
Yeah.
yet amazing. And maybe the
Better.
acoustic version is way better and
Yeah.
like touching, and
I mean,
like
some of the Nirvana versions are better. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Like they turned into like a different band almost. It's like they sound like a different band. Like
yeah,
you can't just get up there and play like power chords
right.
like
Yeah, they
like
threw in what like it's a cello player or something too, if I remember,
yep.
and
And even the arrangements were great. Like it was just like soft,
right.
strummy. You can't.
And they got away with having a drummer just playing with sticks and brushes, I guess.
Yeah, but it sounded
Not every band did that, right? With sticks,
no.
they sometimes had no drummer, right?
Yeah, and the drummer would play like a cajon or something dumb. I don't back that move either. I'll never. I'm either playing a guitar, nothing, or like you know what I mean. It's like don't put me back there with a freaking.
So I don't think I've ever played an acoustic Aquabat set. I don't know that it can be done,
I don't know that it can be done either.
or should be done.
It would just be such a different vibe. It would be a completely different thing.
Like 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 a mood killer or something. Like it
Yeah,
just
because
doesn't seem
the Aquabats is like a
like it
up
would
tempo,
work.
fun energy thing. You can't like strip it
Yeah,
down. They're not like
I don't
emotional
know.
songs.
No, 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 no.
No, like I thought about that for a long time. I was like, Atreyu couldn't do acoustic stuff, but then I started like on Twitch actually started like figuring out versions to like all these songs,
Yeah,
and like those are like they have like emotion and there's vibe and stuff, and just like becomes this whole different thing.
you
But
have
if
to
you're like,
reinvent it. Yeah,
yeah, but you
you might
couldn't
have
have,
to ditch the riff, or you might have to, you know, slow it down, change some
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah, there's certain bands that just don't do acoustic. Like I couldn't imagine like an acoustic Devo record. You need it to
No.
be like wacky and weird and like
Well, it's funny because I just today saw Foo Fighters, Dave Grohl, doing Everlong acoustic and
yeah,
like telling the story about it. It's like a 10-minute video,
yeah,
but um, that song is incredible acoustic.
yeah. It's insane, but it's like got it. It's an emotional song though.
Yeah,
Anyways, it's not like a happy fun song. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Which I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that
yeah.
maybe that's the block. If you write happy fun songs, never you're just not gonna do it.
But well, but then there's the Violent Femmes, like
But there was like it was like weird.
it's
They
true.
were Violent Femmes are just weird. That you were like, why is this band acoustic? Eh, But then you're like, oh, this is just their sound. But the songs are like strange. You know,
Yes,
it had
yeah.
that thing that made you be like, I feel uncomfortable about this, but it's cool. I remember
And
the
you
first.
watch them and you feel uncomfortable too when you see them
Oh
too.
yeah, I remember like just growing up in Orange County with like K Rock and hearing Violent Femmes and not understanding at first that that was the band. I was like, oh, this is like in a band doing like an acoustic version of a
Oh,
song. And then I was like, wait, this is how they always are? Like, okay, okay.
yeah.
That band got signed. Think about that. That band got someone went and saw it and was like, this is fucking weird. Let's definitely
Well,
sign this.
dude, it's a different world, man.
Yeah.
It's a different world. That there were. It's just a different world. Like they took more chances back then,
Hmm.
because say you have like an A&R guy out there, you know, headhunting for bands or whatever. They get the like Neil Diamond or whatever that makes that label millions.
Yeah.
But it's cool because like then I can put in these other bands that I think are cool,
Yeah,
that
and I
won't
won't
sell
get
many
shit for.
won't sell many records, but they, as many records, but they'll be cool and people like them, and this music needs to be heard.
For
That's
sure.
just gone,
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
it's very
But
gone.
labels are gone. I mean, I was listening to, who was it? Let's watch some YouTube video. I think it was that guy Rick Beato. Have you heard of
Yeah,
him?
yeah,
He's like a producer, guitar player on YouTube, and his theory was that like at the end of the 90s, like what happened that like to rock at, like, he calls it the Y2K
yeah,
issue or something, like, and he had a good point that like all the media corporations got bought up by like six um conglomerates, like, so like six companies then like bought up all the radio stations, and so radio stations used to be owned by a lot of different,
yeah. More independent.
yeah, and they could play different stuff where like you get centralized, and then like playlists get like, okay, this band's cool, nope, not none of this band, like things get filtered out, and it's just the like million sellers that
Yeah,
are like able to like keep going,
for sure. The
and
little guys didn't
everything
really
else
get.
everything else is just kind of squashed, right?
Yeah, the little guy lost their chance.
Right.
Which is, I mean, you even
There's
look,
so many factors. I mean, that's just one of them, right?
but it's even in
There's
the not even that even kept going. I mean, it just got progressively worse. I talk about people that are like, oh, like they'll ask about my band that know nothing, about what I do or who the band is, the genre, and they're like, oh, like
Yeah,
it's
and you have a gold record,
two.
two gold records.
And it's like
Yeah.
it make what the fuck what do they do but look pretty on my wall, but it's cool to say, but
Yeah.
um it's like, oh yeah, like people will be like, oh yeah, like talking about radio, and I'm like, yeah, we had two songs in a row that were top 5 at alternative rock and active rock at the same time. Atreyu did, and they're like, no, you didn't. I'm like, yeah, we did. Now alternative radio is just pop radio. I don't even play.
Right, and you guys played Ozfest and Warp Tour.
Yeah, and we play like
Uh,
K Rock Weenie Roast and like all
yeah.
these, total mainstream things, but somehow it worked. But like that straight up doesn't exist anymore. Like
Yeah.
with the way radio's gone, it's just all it makes sense though, because you get bought up and it's like, what makes us the most money? Everyone do that now. Like that scene in fucking Airheads when they go soft rock. Oh, it's fucking KPPX goes soft rock. It's where the money's at.
I know, but it's crazy that how even radio is still a huge factor as to what gets popular,
Hmm?
even though like who's listening to radio that much anymore?
It's all just like
Now that
local.
you can have anything you want on your phone at any time, it's just, the splintering of the internet that just kind of drove everyone into their dark little corners
Yeah.
where they can only listen to anything that they like. And so instead of like a lot of kind of big bands and a few big bands, there's just like tiny amount of big bands and a million small bands.
Yeah. All just fighting for a stream.
Right. And what's a stream worth? I mean, come on. It's crazy. And now, but it's the numbers that like that you judge you now, right? And it's like you can literally go on whatever, Spotify and look at like, well,
and just see it. You can see
yeah,
how big a band is. You can see how big a band is. You know what I
right.
mean?
But here's the thing, because I think about that a lot too. But I think about like older bands, like I'm like, why doesn't The Cure have more streams? Well, because half their listeners aren't on Spotify.
And they're listening to the vinyl still.
They're listening to vinyl. They're
Yeah.
listening to the CDs. They're listening to radio. They might not even be on Spotify yet.
I doubt it.
I
doubt it. And they're listening
like
to that.
some of their
And they're
older
still listening to
hardcore
that
fans.
local station. Like we still have like Kanak. It still plays like some rock music, but it's the most little tiny minute station in LA that like doesn't. There's like a station in
Wait,
Riverside.
KNAC is not still around.
Yeah, it's like
no.
Yeah, I think so.
I thought they were just internet only.
Maybe it is internet only.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well then so then never mind. It doesn't even really exist. But they still play like some crazy shit,
Right.
like that doesn't make
Well,
sense.
how many internet radio stations then are there, or like Sirius XM or
Yeah.
or whatever?
It's crazy that that's a big enough of a platform. I remember when Sirius just came out and like XM radio came out, and it was like, oh, we're getting played on Octane. It's like, oh, cool. Like it was that whole like, if a tree falls in the forest, does anyone hear it? You know what I mean? Like that's cool.
Yeah.
So no one's listening. No one heard it, because back then it was like, who the fuck listening to this?
Right.
Now, if you get a regular rotation song on Octane for instance, like that'll get you top 40 on the radio charts from one station.
See, that's crazy because I felt like the Sirius XM is like just for like background music in stores.
But there's, I mean,
Like
there's decent channels. I mean,
like who still is like, yeah, I got my Sirius XM. I'm like in their
you'd be
cars and
surprised.
like,
You'd be
really?
surprised. I think due to the fact that like I started one, it comes with every car. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So you're like, okay, and then like it's like you get 6 months free, and then the subscription runs out, and you're like, I don't want to pay that, and they're like, we'll give you 6 more months for $10, and you're like, okay, like
Okay.
so, and the fact that we're on Octane, so like I'll listen, you know, but then there's so many channels where you can like hear really specific good shit. Like I'm gonna listen to Tom Petty radio, and it's gonna be a bunch of rad Petty hits and deep cuts and Wilburys and like there's gonna be some Neil Young randomly. There's gonna be like some
Yeah.
Roy Orbison. There's gonna be like everything that has anything to do with Tom Petty. You're like, okay, I'll fuck with that. You know what
All
I
right,
mean?
you sold me. I'm in.
But then there's just horrible stations that are just
Yeah.
like a joke. But it's just funny. Like you can literally chart from a station, and but you still have to do the song and dance with all the local radio and all the local stations. And you know, I did 3 hours today of interviews for radio stations that
Wow.
were all like locals, and I know who they are because we've done stuff with them in the past. But it's like still very much exists. You know,
Wow.
it's a weird
But
thing.
again, it's just like that little slice,
Mm-hmm.
right? It used to be MTV and radio, right? And then I think it literally when MTV just like stopped doing music, you get the end of like the rock star
Yeah.
starting to happen, right?
Because it's not visible anymore. You don't get to
Right.
see. Remember, even MTV at the end, like when they introduced like Cribs and all that kind of stuff, it was still showing pop and rock stars and like hip hop artists in this thing where you were like, whoa,
Right.
like that's their fake.
Yeah, it
house
became
and
like
cars they
reality
don't
shows
know.
and like TRL, like a short version of TRL
Yeah.
or something, where at least some people, actual musicians, could come in and on it. But
Yeah, and we used to think it was the dopest shit in the world to go do Headbangers Ball on MTV too.
yeah,
Like it was the biggest shit in the world. We'd get to New York and like have to wake up at like 5 a.m. to go do Headbangers Ball at like 7:30. We're like, why does this exist?
and then
You
it
know?
airs at like 2 a.m. or something.
Yeah, like a week later. Yeah, but it was like that was huge. There's a lot of people that were like, oh yeah, I used to watch you guys on. I used to like record Headbangers Ball and like
Wow.
rewatch it the next morning because it was on at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, but like it still got exposure. You know,
Yeah, man.
none of that anymore. Now you're just
It's
you know.
nuts. It's nuts because like I know who Cardi B is and like all the biggest pop stars, but I've never heard their music.
You should do yourself a favor. Don't listen to the music. Just go after we get off today. Just get on your phone or your computer and just Google the lyrics to WAP.
I've done that. Even for the internet, it's shocking.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I was like, this, I can't read this out. I can't read it out loud. And I'm like, I'm not that guy. I'm not embarrassed, and I'm like, I have a horrible mouth.
I know, and I just love it when, yeah, rock and roll is so evil. Rock and roll
Yeah.
is just so profane, and it's like, really?
Oh shit. Yeah. Someone in the chat's like, Gilbert Gottfried reading the WAP lyrics is the best thing ever. So good. Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely interesting, and there's so much of that out there. There's just so much.
What's going on in the chat? Are
Nonsense.
people asking questions or anything?
They're kind of
Or
just hanging.
What's our time? Like, how long do we go? Just all night?
My freaking show. We go however long we feel. I usually hang for an hour and a half, and but there's no rules. Actually, let's open the chat. If anyone has questions for Ian about anything he's ever done ever in his life, then
Sure.
you can ask. Yeah, I'm doing so. This guy Ford that's in my chat. He's my Sherpa, my Twitch Sherpa. He handles all of my issues. He's like a moderator on the page, and I'm doing a 12-hour stream on Wednesday because it's
Awesome.
my 1 year anniversary on Twitch. So I'm doing 12 to midnight. But
Nice.
he's like, no. Now your 12-hour stream is just a few days long. Let's just stay on. Now that I said this is my show, I do what I want. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna do everything that I've done on Twitch pretty much, but right here, but for 12 hours.
There you go.
I'm cooking.
I feel like that could be kind of easy. We've already gone almost an hour and a half.
An hour and a half. that
We
was
barely like scratch the surface of like stuff
exactly.
we could talk about.
Exactly. Like we at first I was like, I don't know, because a couple of my buddies have done 24-hour streams, and I'm like, I just don't know. Especially with kids, I'm just like, I just don't know if that's gonna work
That's
out.
true.
12, Ash is like, I can handle 12. I'm like, I think maybe I can handle 12. I'm like, what the fuck am I gonna do? And this girl Annie, that is also one of my moderators, she's like, you have guests on your show. You're like, this is one of your biggest segments is you have guests. Like, just have 6 or 7 guests. Then you only have to kill a few more hours. I'm like, oh, well, shit.
Look, you got like a bongo behind you. You've
Yeah.
got some guitars.
I can't play those at the moment, but yeah, the wonky pinky doesn't work still.
Oh yeah, man, you've just been beaten up this past few months, huh?
Dude, I think I hit my third one was last weekend. I think that's my 3 should be over with. But I mean,
Knock on wood.
I've never injured a rib before. I've never injured anything before. I'm think of my whole life in being in your life. You ever like, oh, that one time Brandon was in a cast, or one time he broke his ankle? Never. Like, it just never happens. The arm thing was insane and just like devastating, and I've never had to like deal with like physical therapy. But then the rib thing. Have you ever hurt your ribs?
Once, the
Oh.
only fight I've ever really been in, I came out with a bruised rib, which was, I was a kid and it hurt so bad.
Yeah, it's insane. It didn't. It hurt when I did it, but it just knocked the wind out of me, and then I was
Did you
fine.
break a rib?
I think I just bruised it.
Yeah.
I didn't go check, but I'm also like, I'm just too. I'm not going to give in to the fact that I broke something else. I'm just like, there's no way. I don't, unless there's like internal bleeding or something.
Yeah.
Like, I can breathe and my heart rate is regular, so I'm like, I think I'm fine.
But still, a bruised rib is gnarly.
Dude, it's brutal.
Every
the first
breath,
day
you're
was
like,
fine.
ow.
First day was fine. Next day was worse. Like 2 days ago was fucking horrible. Dude, I wake up, I like can't put Piper to bed. They have bunk beds. I can't get down in her bed. I just can't do it. My body's like, no. I'll go to like roll over in bed and I just can't, because I'll go to that side, or I'm like, that doesn't work. Okay, just go back to your bunk, I guess. It's horrible. It is horrible. Crazy. So Haunted Punk on here wants to say, what's Ian's favorite behind the scenes story from filming Super Show? There's probably a lot of those on there.
Well, we were filming this one episode called The Floating Eye of Death, which was actually the name of an Aquabats album. So we put in a lot of Easter eggs for fans, right? Brought up, a lot of our stuff after past songs and albums and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we're filming. It's one of these through the night things. Up by those. It's in this canyon, like over north of LA. What's it called? Almost to. No. Like up almost to. They were by the Kirk Rocks, like on the Star Trek rocks out there.
The fuck is that called? Like Castaic.
Yeah, kind of. Almost to why can't I think of the town? Almost to Palmdale.
Okay, yeah.
This crazy little canyon, and it's this like and it's just used for movies. It's like a diner gas station set, and if you film the other way, it's like a little log cabin kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's like a through the night shoot because it's a nighttime thing, and so it's it's getting pretty late. It's 3, 4, 5 a.m. Everyone's pretty over it.
Yeah.
And we have this thing, this shot where we all have to, our vehicle is called the battle tram. We all have to hop out of the battle tram in like ready to go action poses, and so we're waiting for them to set up the shot, and it's like super cold, and everyone's just kind of over it. So like, this will be funny, guys. Okay, we're gonna ruin the shot on purpose. We're like sitting in the vehicle, like, okay, let's all take our shirts off, and then we'll jump out like hiya, and it'll get people laughing and get the mood on set happier. And so we do it like ha, and everyone's like, the whole crew got so bummed. They're like,
because they're like, this needs more time.
Going again, like yeah.
Like, guys, our shirts are off.
Yeah, hey, we're funny, because it was like you know, it was pretty fun. Like 99% of the time filming,
People are
just
like, "Oh, I saw that in the
goofy,
blooper
kind of
reel."
goofing off the whole time,
Yeah.
and we hired a lot of our friends. You know, so it was just fun, like a lot of inside jokes, a lot of goofing around because that's what the show was.
Yeah.
And you know, we'd have people guest stars come on and be like, "This is the funnest set I've ever been on," and we're like, "Cool," because it's not really a set. We just
Yeah.
we're a band.
Punk show. Punk show. So good. I love
Uh,
it. I was hoping you'd be like, it's one time we killed a guy. Story.
no,
We went out to
no,
the desert and we accidentally killed
not yet.
a guy. Hasn't happened. That's in the next season.
No, no.
Uh,
People get injured though. People get injured. I got injured.
you can imagine. You're action stars.
Yeah.
You're
Here's
action
the
stars
thing.
with no prior training.
Exactly. And we won an Emmy for stunts.
Did you really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because it was a daytime Emmy, still counts.
Emmy's an Emmy.
But what daytime TV are we up against? Like someone getting slapped at a
Days of
you
Our
know, like a
Lives.
soap opera, right? We have like literally dudes hanging off the tops of moving vehicles, you know.
That's why you won. You freaking sweeped it. They were like, it's obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have your little
Yeah.
daytime Emmy. Do you have a little?
Here's
do you have your
no,
little
no here's the great no, because I was hoping like sweet, I get an Emmy or whatever. Like, no, because it's like a it was for stunts, so the stunt coordinator, the head of the department, gets the Emmy, and then you
Oh,
get like one for your uh production company or whatever. So we have one in our office, just like a token one at our
yeah.
office. But the guy who actually gets one in his house, you know, is
The guy that
guy
showed
who
you,
is
told you
not
how to do this.
well, yeah, well, he wasn't even a stunt guy. It's because we filmed the second season in Utah, because they get you got a huge tax break for filming in Utah. They have incentives like Louisiana and Georgia, New Mexico, like where all these productions are going.
Yeah.
If you spend a certain amount, they give you a certain percentage back. You have to hire a certain amount of local crew, which there was a lot of great local crew there. I think it increased the production value of our show. There's amazing scenery in Utah. They have everything, right? They have city, country, mountains, snow,
Everything.
you know, everything. Anyway, but our stunt coordinator was this guy named Skip, who just ran a karate dojo, and it was basically, you know, one step up from what's the guy in Napoleon Dynamite? Rex. It's kind of like a Rex Kwon Do situation,
Skip
you know.
Kwon Do.
Yeah, and this guy, oh man, he's amazing. So he's like, yeah, let's do some stunt training. Like the first day we get into town, and we're like, oh, okay, we haven't really had any stunt training, you know.
Yeah.
And so he just basically takes us to his karate dojo and beats us up for like 4 hours. and like we were
scheduled stunts.
We were scheduled to do that like every day for a week, and we're just like, nope, not going back.
I don't want.
We got it. We're all good now.
We're essentially good to go. Like we're fine. We're fine. There's a dude. We're friends with Kenny. You might have met him, but he is the stunt coordinator and designs all of the American Ninja Warrior sets.
No way! I love that show.
He literally, and he can do all the courses because he designs them. But like he just sits. He's like, I sit there and laugh at these people because I've done every one of these courses in like record time. Like it's still random at which they move and whatever. But like he's like, they're not that hard. I don't think so.
Yeah, but the people, it's in your mind, right?
Exactly.
The people
they think that they're not.
There's cameras rolling. There's like your whole family's there watching you.
Yeah.
There's the lights and the explosions and commentators and
yeah. It's awesome though. He's legit. He's like actual.
That's awesome. That's a pretty rad job.
Yeah, it's a great job. He still does it, and he still shows his videos. And you're like, what? You paid for this? That's crazy. Another one of the things you're like, people pay you good money for this.
Yeah,
like, this is dangerous, but super fun.
Another mutual friend, Jeff Butcher, worked on our show.
Oh yeah, he does effects, doesn't he?
Director of photography.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I remember back in the day he did effects.
He was the director of photography for everything we've ever shot, basically.
Really?
He says no to like actual paying jobs to come work on the Aquabat show. And we're like, why? But we're so stoked because he's so good.
Yeah. You're like, why? But I don't want to really ask you because I don't want you to think about it too hard.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's like
it was just rad. There was people like that who like just kind of believed in the show and took pay
Want to
cuts
be a
to
part of
work
it,
on
and
our
they probably
show,
just
and
enjoyed
it
it.
was rad.
Probably just enjoyed it.
I think so, yeah. I feel like season 1 was like uh because it was so grueling. It was like 15, 16-hour days, sometimes 7 days a week. Like it was like in The Princess Bride when he's strapped to that machine and it's like, I just took 1 year of your life away. you know,
Yeah. Like,
the season 1 was felt like that at times
yeah.
because it was like occasionally I'd be home to sleep for 3 or 4 hours before going back to it,
Sometimes you just
because
sleep
like I
there,
said,
probably.
we'd be doing, shooting all day and then we'd go and work on music into the night at the office because we were scoring most of the stuff ourselves and writing the songs that were in every episode. And there was
Yeah.
like the schedule you had to keep up and stuff.
Crazy to be self-sufficient like that. I felt
Yeah, it was
horrible
nuts.
for Porter. Porter was like, on 2 albums ago, I was like, yeah, I'd love to do all the art direction and the layout for the album, and then I'd also like to direct the first video. We're like, cool. And all of us are just like, the record's done. We're just approving stuff. You realize how much work goes into this shit. And then, like, even still, like, he's our video editing guy. We did those live streams, and he, like, 3.5 weeks before the first show, he's like, what's our vibe for like video with this huge video wall? And we're like, they can kind of throw stuff together, but it's just gonna be like patterns and stuff. Not gonna be that rad. And like, I'd rather not use it or make our own. He's like, I'll just make it. I'm like, you have to make 24 songs worth of video. He's like, that's fine, I'll do it. He spent literally like 2 weeks straight. Like he would essentially like wake up at like 7 a.m., eat breakfast, edit videos, stop to like shit and eat again, edit videos till like midnight, go to sleep, repeat for 2 weeks.
Right.
And he handled it, but it was just like, I feel so bad
Yeah.
because it's just relentless. But he likes it. He loves doing it. But
I love that guy.
he's the
I
best.
think we shot our live streams at the same place you did, or one of them.
Yeah, you did at
At
Gallagher essentially.
what's it called? No, what's it they called now?
Sound something.
I can't remember.
This is awesome.
Yeah, the
What is it
big
called?
warehouse.
Yeah,
Community something.
Sound Sanctuary.
Sound Sanctuary. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's what it was. Yeah, place is rad.
Yeah.
I love doing there. Got another question for you. Random
Yeah.
question for Ian. What guitars did you use to record the last Aquabats album? I thought your tone sounded especially good on Kooky Spooky. I want to know what you used.
Thank you. Most of it was this guitar right here.
Yes.
It's a American professional Jazzmaster, Fender Jazzmaster. There were a couple other guitars. A Fender Jaguar with Johnny Marr pickups, which was awesome, and then a Fender Mustang on some parts. So it was all Fenders, pretty much just those three. And the amps were Fender Super Reverb mainly, and a Satellite Barracuda.
It's just a cool sounding amp.
It is a cool sounding amp.
Just like as the name.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
kids-
You're gonna if you're gonna name an amp, name it something cool.
Like kids named Tanner. They're just always kind of cool. You know? Satellite Barracuda just sounds cool. Like, yeah, I want to buy that. I bet it sounds
Yeah,
good.
Satellite's great. It's this guy Adam Grimm. He works in San Diego. Has a shop. He just builds amps, and actually a good friend who worked on the show and who played bass in Gerard Way's band, Matt Gorney. He would like the guy who like did the Tolexing on the
crazy.
amps, and so we just made friends with him, and he's like one of those mad scientist guys, that
He knows how to do stuff.
yeah, but if he got his stuff together, they'd be like one of the biggest amp companies in the world. But he loves doing like wacky one-offs and like,
Yeah.
He's not so concerned with the like commerce side of it as
Yeah.
much.
He's like, oh, yeah.
But
I guess I'll sell these.
Yeah, but he hands builds. He's got this waiting list of people. So boutique, pretty much just one man operation, but he just builds these incredible sounding amps that are just amazing. So
What a crazy thing to just like actually have be successful. Like, I don't try.
Right.
I'm not trying to like be this big company, but somehow there's a line of people that want my amps, and I'm
it's
like,
just
good
the
to go.
quality of the product speaks for itself, man. You plug into one of these and you're like, holy cow, this sounds nuts. This sounds incredible.
That's awesome.
They're just that good,
This is random and sort of off topic again. I do that often, and I apologize. Do you remember doing that fucking Tom Petty thing for my dad?
Yeah, yeah.
I remember one year I was my dad's like 40th birthday or 50th birthday. This is he just turned 65 or maybe I don't know. It was maybe his 50th birthday.
Okay.
It's like I want to record some Tom Petty songs for my dad, and I ended up doing it with you. I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
that was awesome. I don't know. I don't have a copy. I don't know where it is.
Oh, really? I
My
have them on
dad-
MP3 somewhere on
Yeah.
my iTunes library.
I don't even know if
Um,
my dad has a copy, to be honest. I don't
oh,
even know. We gotta find it.
we gotta fix that. I can find them and send them to you. I wanted to go back and remix them, but like those files are
Oh,
gone.
just gone. Yeah, they're on some computer or some hard drive.
Because like Ricky, the drummer of the
Yeah.
Aquabats, recorded those for us.
Yeah.
At that like weird time where like computer recording had just started to
Mm-hmm.
become a thing, but
Yeah.
it's like wasn't super good yet, and not everyone had all the softwares. The tail end of the four track kind of disappearing, and
Mm-hmm.
so, and he hadn't really done tons of that yet.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded for what it was. It sounded all right, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly.
no, it did. It did.
I think I sounded like garbage because that was 15 years ago, and I'm not Tom Petty. But
Yeah,
but still fun to
I
do.
love Tom Petty so much. I was
Yeah.
so stoked to do that.
Yeah, I got to see Tom Petty one time, and
Me too.
and it was so good, and freaking.
Where'd you see him?
At Anaheim and at Honda Center. And fucking
Rad.
who opened for him? Steve Winwood opened for
Oh,
him.
rad.
And I was like, who's Steve Winwood? And then he started playing it, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is all Steve Winwood? Like, he's that guy that's like, you might not understand until he starts playing.
Yeah.
And you're like, the dude wrote all these songs?
Yeah, so
But
good.
Epic.
Yeah, because he was in Traffic.
Yeah.
And Humble Pie, right? He was
Yeah.
in a bunch of other bands.
Yeah.
So I saw him at the Hollywood Bowl, and ZZ Top opened.
That's awesome.
And
Weird enough,
I'm
I
not
saw
gonna
ZZ
I'm
Top
not
at
gonna
the
say
Hollywood
he was better than Tom Petty, because I don't think I can say that.
Bowl.
But they were really, really good.
ZZ Top was?
Yeah, they were incredible.
I saw ZZ Top at the Hollywood Bowl too, but by themselves. And with my dad
That's awesome.
again. And it was pretty good. My dad fell asleep, but I was pretty stoked. But Petty was great. I wish I could have seen Petty more. But
I could talk about Tom Petty for an hour and a half, I think.
I'm telling you, we have episodes. Me and you have episodes of
Yeah.
this show. Like straight up.
Yeah.
I do want to get together an episode with you, at least you and Ephraim, to just talk about
Yeah,
it needs
for
to
sure.
be, like the birth of YLHC. The facts, the like where things went. There's a lot of different episodes. It's funny, like having people on where I'm like, there's so many different things we can get into here. Like I like that because it's good. I do this all the time, so we have plenty more conversations to have.
Well, I think we might need to wrap it up.
I agree.
I'm sorry. I have a kid I need to go attend to.
That's fine. I understand. I have a couple of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're team
Yeah.
team girl dad.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. Yeah, exactly.
We got 5 girls. We need to start a girl band.
I know. Whew. That'd
Easy.
be awesome.
Easy.
Yeah.
I'm into it, dude. I loved hanging out with you. I love talking to you always.
Yeah, anytime.
We live close, so now that like the world kind of
I know
exists,
we do.
should just probably hang out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Got to come over and grill some stuff up,
I'm in.
hang out.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome, dude. Well, take care of yourself. We'll do this again. And there's
All
so
right.
much more to talk about. I love you, buddy. It was good hanging.
Love you. All
All right.
right.
See you
ya.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Legendary human, Ian Fowles. I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of BCL Presents What Else.